Welcome back to Crawford Farms Entertainment. Last time, I was in the finals of another multiversal tournament and I ran into Saitama, the unstoppable one-punch man. We didn't get to finish our battle. Lucky for him, because an evil Santa attacked us. Yep, you heard it right, an evil Santa. If you haven't watched that video, I hope that you'll take the time to go back and check it out. So without further ado, let's pick up right where we left off. The one-punch guy was flying away. Yeah, dude had figured out how to fly. Then I yelled out, "Hey, wait, I have a real challenge for you." He came back down and I gave him Goku's address and phone number. I told him it's best just to stop by because my friend is brilliant on the battlefield, but dumb as a rock when it comes to technology. He still hasn't figured out how to work his phone. So I had just set up an early Christmas present for Goku. I said goodbye to Naruto and Inuyasha, and I offered them both features in my next music video, and I promised that we would collaborate in the future. For now, I was done with fighting, and I was ready to get into the Christmas spirit. Suddenly, my peace was interrupted.
The dude just killed Santa.
Goten, you knucklehead, he was trying to kill us and everyone in the arena.
He didn't have to kill him. Now I'm definitely gonna be on the naughty list, and I hope you are too. When?
You are such a baby. So the only thing I wanted for Christmas was a pair of purple and yellow Nike Dunks. My main focus was Marin and 18, and I wondered what they wanted, so I started snooping around trying to figure out what would be the perfect gift. I figured out my best bet was to check the search history on 18's phone. I unlocked the phone, the pin was easy. It was 18, 18, 18. And in my defense, I told her to change it. She is surprisingly non-tech savvy for a robot. As I was looking through the search history, I see that she's been researching a lot about vacation spots. So I just kind of figured maybe that was what she wanted. She had a few strange searches that I should have been concerned about. One was about how not to get caught by your husband, whatever that was about. That one should have really concerned me, and I was just about to investigate it as a message ding ding. I hesitated to read it because I knew I really shouldn't, but curiosity got the best of me, and I read the message. What I saw made my heart sink. It was a chat between her and a guy named M. And it read, this is 18 talking. "Hey M, are you still ready for tonight?" And then M responds, "You bet, I can't wait to see you." I had to stop reading because it was too much. Was 18 trying to dump me for this M guy? Was she cheating on me? I had to find out. It was bound to happen sooner or later. Shut up, man. Ooh. Just be quiet. Anyway, that's how it all started. This nosy moment from a guy with no nose set off a chain of events that could have destroyed Christmas and all of reality. So I was hurt. In that moment, I felt so betrayed. So I set out on a mission that would take me on a wild adventure through time. I decided that I would follow Android 18 to her 9 p.m. yoga. I know, a robot doing yoga sounds suspicious, and I should have asked questions sooner, but you're an adult who probably watches cartoons, so who are you to judge? Anyway, I followed her. There are a couple of things I didn't realize. One, Krampus was still alive. When Saitama punched him, his goo flew everywhere. A small piece landed on my gi. When I went home, I did wash my gi. I promise, I did wash it, but a small piece managed to survive the wash and began to reform. The other thing I didn't realize was the dude possessed a transdimensional ki blast that could send its victims through time and space, and that would come into play later. The cool night air rushed past me as I soared through the sky, silently trailing Android 18, my stomach churning with suspicion. The glow of the moon illuminated her figure as she exited the house to drive off, headed towards her 9 p.m. yoga practice. Doubt gnawed at me, fueled by the suspicious message on her phone from someone with the initial M. My mind raced with thoughts of infidelity. I couldn't shake the worry that she might be cheating on me. As I flew through the clouds, a sudden burst of energy caught my attention. Goten, the ever-curious teenager, had tagged along without me noticing. After landing, we found a place to hide and observe. Goten's eyes gleamed with excitement, and I motioned for him to be quiet. We hid in the shadows, watching Android 18 gracefully move through her yoga routine. Everything seemed normal, just a peaceful yoga session in a pretty average-looking gym. As we watched from outside under the starry sky, Goten's attention, however, wavered between yoga poses and the other ladies in the gym. I shot him a stern look, reminding him of the gravity of the situation. As the practice concluded and I trailed 18 from above as we headed home, relief washed over me. Perhaps my suspicions were unfounded. However, just as I was about to let my guard down, she made an unexpected detour. My heart pounded in my chest as she drove into a posh neighborhood that I didn't recognize. Unable to resist the need for answers, I descended to the ground with Goten in tow. We silently followed her to a magnificent house, our eyes widening at the sight of its grandeur. Questions filled my mind, and my worry intensified. She entered the house, ushered by a short blonde fellow, who I couldn't tell if he was an adult or a child. He was definitely shorter than me. I exchanged a puzzled glance with Goten. The air was thick with tension as I cautiously approached, concealing myself behind a corner. Peeking around, I strained to catch a glimpse of what was happening inside. To my surprise, Android 18 emerged with a smile, chatting amicably with a group of people. My heart sank as I grappled with conflicting emotions. Had I been wrong all along? Was this some innocent gathering? As they dispersed, Android 18 made her way back to the car, leaving the mysterious house behind. Goten nudged me, his eyes wide with curiosity. I couldn't deny the nagging doubts, but at the same time, I questioned the validity of my suspicions. The night air grew colder as we trailed her once more, our minds clouded with uncertainty, the truth that remained elusive. And as we flew through the night, I couldn't shake the feeling that the answers that I sought were still hidden in the shadows.
Why are you trying to sound all dramatic all of a sudden? You sound like a bootleg version of that guy who did the narrating for The Twilight Zone.
Goten, shut your mouth before I knock you out.
You do realize I could probably kick the crap out of you.
True, but then I tell your mom about those pictures of your Aunt Boma. Dude, you're gross. She's like family, and she's your best friend's mom. You're just gross, man.
Okay, chill, man, chill.
Anyway, I kept getting this nagging feeling that something wasn't quite right with my wife, Android 18. It was a gut feeling that had been gnawing at me, telling me that she might be seeing someone else behind my back. I've never thought that I would end up being that type of guy to feel this way, but here I am, filled with doubt and insecurity. I noticed her being more secretive with her phone lately, and there have been times where she was quick to get quiet on her phone calls whenever I entered the room. I'm not a jealous person by nature, but these things were starting to add up and making me worry. I couldn't shake the feeling any longer, so I made up my mind to confront her. I decided to come straight out and to ask her about what was bothering me. I needed to know if my intuition was true or if I was just being paranoid. As I was getting ready to talk to her, I couldn't help but wonder if I should just confront the guy I suspected that she was cheating with. The little blonde guy was short. Maybe she just liked short dudes and she was done with old Master K. I couldn't shake the thought that maybe she was seeing this little twerp of a fellow behind my back. So I'm standing out in front of our house. Just as I'm contemplating how to handle this, I felt a sudden rush of energy behind me. Before I knew it, a powerful key blast hit me from behind and everything went black. Now, if I hadn't been so distracted by my paranoid thoughts, then I would have saw this coming a mile away. But no, I was distracted and here we are. And so everything went black. When I came to, I found myself in a place unlike anything I'd ever seen before. The sky was a different shade of blue and the landscape looked unfamiliar. Goten was lying next to me and he was also out cold. I couldn't help but wonder what had just happened. My confusion only grew when I saw a figure approaching us. As the figure drew closer, I saw that it was a man with spiky hair and an intense gaze. He introduced himself as Meliodas, the captain of the 7 deadly sins. He explained to us that we had been blasted back in time and into a different universe. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Now, I had experienced the multiverse. I've been to a bunch of different universes, but time travel was foreign to me. I knew it existed, but it was foreign to me. I'd never been through time. The Meliodas guy looked familiar, and I realized that it was the little twerp that I had saw with Android 18. Suddenly, I found myself overcome with rage. I wasted no words and drew back and smacked old boy like he was a disobedient circus monkey. Nah, just kidding. I would never smack a monkey. I would never do it. And if you did, you should turn yourself in right now, you sociopath. But nah, this dude had it coming. So I slapped him so hard that his homeboy got a concussion.
Krillin, you are capping. You were all polite and scary. You didn't even confront him until weeks later, dude.
Okay. Hey, Chi-Chi, check your email in like 5 minutes. I'm gonna forward you some stuff off of Goten's computer.
Man, chill, chill.
Well, shut up then. So after I smacked dude, he told us that we were in this universe and we were in the midst of a war between demons and goddesses. It was hard to wrap my head around all of this, but at the same time, I felt a strange sense of excitement. This was an adventure unlike anything I'd ever experienced before. We decided to stick close to Meliodas and the other members of the 7 deadly sins, and I found myself getting caught up in the battles in quest. It was a thrilling and dangerous world, but it was also a world where I felt like I had a purpose. I was fighting alongside these powerful warriors, and for the first time in a while, I felt like I was a part of something bigger than myself. The last several battles I had were all about making money and making a name for myself, and this felt like it had an actual purpose. But as much as I was enjoying this new world, I couldn't shake off the concern about Android 18. I was still troubled by the thought of her cheating on me, and even more urgent, I didn't know what had blasted me. It was like a dark cloud hanging over my head, and it was hard to ignore even in the midst of all the chaos and adventure. Meanwhile, back in my own time, Bulma and Android 18 were hard at work figuring out what had happened to me. Whis and Beerus witnessed the attack, and Beerus quickly confronted the attacker, Krampus. The battle between Krampus and Beerus was fierce, but ultimately Beerus prevailed and was able to restrain Krampus. Whis made sure to let Beerus know that he had struggled a bit with a weakened opponent and needed to train more. Krampus was severely weakened after reforming and would take time to fully regain his strength. Whis restrained his hands and bubbles to keep him from using his transdimensional ki blast. Whis knew who this guy was, and he knew that he was a being that existed outside of the multiverse that we knew. He was spawned from a being that was more powerful than Zeno, and that terrified Beerus. Who else was out there, he wondered. As the combatant was detained, Bulma and 18 questioned him about my whereabouts. What I didn't realize is that future Meliodas was trying to warn 18 about me being sent back in time. I was enjoying the battles with Meliodas, but eventually I had to ask, man, are you messing around with my girl? He clearly had no idea what I was talking about, so I really didn't have to slap the demon out of him, but I most definitely was ready to do so. The weakened Krampus was a coward and told Beerus everything, or so we thought. He told him where I was and Bulma had to work quick or I was going to be stuck in time. What I didn't realize was that the fact that Krampus was a prime dimensional being, he had a consciousness that transcended time, at least into the past. He could initiate communication with his past self to a certain extent. He couldn't change the future, but if someone were unlucky enough to get sent back in time, he could use a past version of himself to attack that person. And in the time I was stuck in, he was at his prime and strong enough to seek revenge for him future. And in the time that I was stuck in, he was at his prime and strong enough to seek revenge for his future self. And as luck would have it, the Krampus from that timeline found me. Meliodas and I squared up for what would be an epic battle, the battle of our lives. Krampus couldn't send messages, words, or pictures back to himself, but what he could send was feelings. And the feelings that he projected to his past self were intense feelings of hatred for me. He didn't realize that Saitama was the one that struck him and splattered him all over the planet. He thought it was me, and he wanted to make me pay. Whis knew exactly who this guy was. He knew that it was a being that came from outside of our multiverse. He knew that he was spawned from a being that had created all universes, a being that was even more powerful than Zeno. And Beerus was starting to realize that this concern etched across Whis' face was something that he needed to be worried about as well. Beerus quickly decided that they needed to get the information that they could from this guy and take him out quickly, because if he regained full power, he would be a force to be reckoned with.
I have no idea what that little bald troll was talking about. I had no concern whatsoever about this guy. I wasn't even fighting him at full power. If I had done so, I would have destroyed this guy in one attack, easily. No worries here whatsoever.
Yeah, I would argue with him on this, but even though I don't believe him, I can't really say that because he could just blow up my planet. Anyway, thanks for watching. Make sure you click like and subscribe. Next time, we will see what happens when I go up against this guy at full power. I haven't done that yet. I'm starting not to like Christmas anymore. Hey guys, welcome back to Crawford Farms Entertainment. Well, it looks like I got myself into another mess. Last time, I thought Android 18 was cheating on me. I got so distracted by my suspicions that I didn't notice someone was trailing me. Krampus, aka Ugly Roid Head Santa, blasted me from behind and sent me hurtling through space and time with his little funky trans-dimensional key blast. If you haven't watched that one, please make sure you take time to check it out so the rest of this makes sense and you don't think I'm just crazy. Alright, let's get into it. So after Beerus put the screws to Krampus, he spilled the beans on my location, and Bulma had to act fast or I'd be trapped in time forever. Little did I know, Krampus, being a prime dimensional being, had a consciousness that transcended time, reaching into the past. He couldn't alter the future, but if someone found himself flung back in time, he could manipulate past versions of himself for an attack. During my time-stuck predicament, he was in his prime, strong enough to seek revenge for his future self. Fate, or rather bad luck, had it that Krampus from that timeline that I was stuck in tracked me down. Meliodas and I faced off for what promised to be the fight of our lives. Krampus couldn't send messages to his past self, but he could project feelings, and the overwhelming hatred he projected towards me made my situation dire. Unbeknownst to me, he never witnessed a timeless strike that finished him off. He thought it was me, and he thirsted for revenge. As Krampus was about to lay waste to us, the Archangel Michael descended, taking a stand between us. Krampus was formidable, but he ain't want that smoke. Gazing in awe at the Archangel Michael, I pondered who in our universe could match his might. Goku, Black Frieza, Broly, Vegeta, or maybe Beerus. It was hard to say. Now Krampus protested.
You're not permitted to intervene. This is outside of your jurisdiction. The boat one is not from this timeline and therefore you can't interfere.
Firstly, that sounded like a load of crap he just made up. Secondly, if he was right, I was toast. Michael declared, "You may not harm the child." What the heck, does dude think that I'm a child or something? Krampus replied,
Allow me to challenge him for the fate of his universe.
I thought you heard the man. You can't harm me, so shut the... I'll allow it. What? Krampus snarled.
I don't know you, little one, but I can't stand you, little bald-headed.
No cursing. Krampus continued.
But even though I don't know you, or what you did to me in the future, you will pay. You will be sent through various points in your timeline, and you will have to prevail against all who struck fear in your heart. If you lose, your universe is mine.
What the heck? Who was this creep going to make me fight? I had no desire to face anyone from my past. The reason I felt like a loser and always wanted to prove myself was because of my losses. Heck, I even lost my life in battle to some of those guys. It was extremely traumatic. I had to dig deep because if I didn't find a way to win, everyone I loved would be destroyed. So I had to suck it up and prepare myself for the most traumatic experience imaginable. Suddenly, I found myself in an arena. It was massive. And on one side, thousands of elves, evil elves, and demonic creatures filled the stands, clearly rooting for my defeat. Their hatred for me was so intense it made me sick. On the other side, angelic beings wanted me to win, emanating warmth and happiness that got me hyped. My short-lived confidence was shattered when Vegeta, the Prince of all Saiyans, stepped into the ring. I had hoped us being somewhat friends, I might be able to reason with him to let me win. I stepped onto the floor, and just before we touched fists, a symbolic gesture of sportsmanship, a prelude to the impending battle, I whispered to Vegeta, "Hey, if I don't win, they're gonna destroy our universe." He responded with a cold, "Good." What in the world? The dude didn't care if his wife and kids died. Something was off with him. I thought that maybe if he stayed in his base form, I would have a chance. But who was I kidding? This was freaking Vegeta. The bell rang and the fight began. Despite not being much bigger than me, he was intimidating. He swung and I braced for the impact, ready to meet my end. But to my surprise, it didn't hurt. The first time I encountered Vegeta, way back in the day, his power level was like 18,000. Mine was just under 2,000 back then. Now mine had surpassed the point where we stopped calculating power levels. By now it was like a billion or who knows by comparison, I don't know. It was time for payback. I cocked back and slapped him. Not a technique, just an open hand smack to the face. Then I tossed him in the air and threw a destructive disc at him. Now this is the funny part, right? So it flew, and I timed it and aimed it just right, so it cut off the creepy little widow's peak off of his forehead. Then on its return, it sliced the top of his hair, giving him a flat top. I teased and taunted, settling the score for trauma he had inflicted on me in the past. The demonic creatures, for whatever reason, they started to cheer. They loved it, and the angels wore this disappointed expression on their face. Looking at Vegeta, I saw deep sorrow in his face. He was ashamed and humiliated. Suddenly, I felt remorse. This was the guy that had killed thousands, possibly millions or billions. Why did I suddenly feel remorse? Thinking back, on the other end of it, he had also saved billions of lives as well. My heart wrenched, and in that moment, I knew how I needed to finish the fight. Vegeta was raised to kill, and he had experienced extreme childhood trauma, always trying to live up to an unrealistic expectation, probably imposed by his father. I grabbed his hand and told him, "One day you'll be the strongest being in the multiverse," and gently tossed him out of the ring. The demons booed, the angels cheered. If I continued to toy with Vegeta, his power would have kept rising, and I would have been toast. The pattern was becoming goofier, like some sappy Christmas special, but I wasn't having it. I decided I was going to give the business to whatever opponent I faced next, or so I thought. I had wondered if it would go in chronological order, if they would jumble everything up for some preachy plot line. I had a few moments to rest before my next battle. Fortunately, the first battle was fairly easy, and I wasn't too tired. Now, Perfected Cell stepped onto the stage. What in the world? I thought this guy was tough, but there was no way he was a match for me now, or was he? I could sense his power was high, possibly still higher than mine. I had to win because the fate of the universe hung in the balance. The demons were even rowdier than before, and one shouted, "Fight!" With that, Cell came out swinging. I dodged and attempted to counter, but he caught my arm and tossed me, nearly throwing me out of the ring. I had almost lost. He knew all my moves and learned and adapted very quickly. I couldn't toy around with him. I powered up, augmenting my every strike with my ki. My determination had always been my greatest strength, so when I decided that defeat was not an option, I turned it up a notch. I had a plan. I tossed a destructo disc at Cell, and he dodged it as planned. My disc circled back and cut off part of his tail. The cocky little creep let me do it because he knew that it would instantly regenerate, and he wanted to take away my fighting spirit, I guess, who knows. But as soon as that piece of his tail dropped, I grabbed it and threw it out of bounds. The angels erupted in celebration, and the demons were furious. I was declared the winner. All I needed was part of his body to go out of bounds to win the fight. I wasn't even sure if that was the rule here, but it was worth a try and it paid off. I stood there caught between two opposing sides of cheers and boos, contemplating who I might battle next. I hoped it wouldn't be something goofy like having to fight a past version of my wife, Android 18. Krampus was ringside arguing with his brother Kringle and Michael.
You bunch of no good cheaters. Why would he have been so scared of those guys? You set me up. I'm telling.
Like for real, who was he gonna tell? He was heated, not anticipating how much I had grown as a fighter and as a person. I was starting to realize it myself. Just as I was feeling better about myself, my next opponent stepped in. It was freezing. My knees got weak. This guy had caused me to suffer like no other, and I was terrified. He stepped to the center of the ring and said, "Well, you are fairly strong, so I'll cut right to the chase. I'll give you a taste of my full power. If you were wearing your goofy little scouter, the power level would read 120 million. As he said that, it was clear he thought that was going to impress somebody. I don't know what they told him before they pulled him into the fight, but someone should have told him to keep that a secret. And then Krampus was ringside and he said,
What in the world? This guy's weaker than the other one. What kind of crap are you guys trying to pull?
Michael and Kringle sat next to him. The angel started laughing and the demon started booing. Frieza stood there with a look of utter disappointment on his face. It was not the reaction he was expecting. He was not used to being the weakest dude in the room. I knocked him out of the ring in the most respectful way I could think of, a swift kick to the throat. The angels were ecstatic and the demons were ticked. Next they sent out Kid Buu. He was strong, but the version I was fighting was from a time before he had absorbed everyone. I guess you could say his power level would have been 40 billion by comparison, but with my perfected key state, that really wasn't a challenge either. When I was in the Forest of Terror, I was probably knocking on the 1 trillion mark. I easily defeated him. Let me tell you, Krampus was upset. The angels had played him. They knew how much my strength had grown. All Krampus could tell is that I was deeply afraid of all of them at some point. I felt powerful in that moment, truly strong. I had proven to myself that I was no longer a slave to my regrets and doubts of the past. I could move forward. Suddenly, the arena fell into a hush, and I could feel power like I had never experienced before. I mean, this was insane. This made Zeno look weak. A being floated towards me with an aura so bright I couldn't gaze upon him. As he moved towards me, I had never felt so at peace. I could tell that whatever was moving towards me was not a threat. In fact, the thing loved me. So I was like, yeah, this is nice, but what in the world is happening? Suddenly it spoke, or he spoke. Krillin, I'm the Alpha and the Omega, aka the freaking GOAT. What's up, my dude? I am so proud of you. Not what I was expecting, but okay. So your girl Android 18 prayed for you. She could tell you were going through like a midlife crisis or something. So I set things in motion. After that other bald dude splattered Krampus. Now, I'm pretty sure I made dude, but I don't even know why. Just kidding. But be careful around him. He is freakishly strong. Anyway, I wanted you to know that you're more than your past defeats, and you're better than your worst moments. Your potential as a fighter and as a husband and a father is limitless. Go your way and live your life. I may call on you again though, because I like the way you get down. Before you go, take this as a gift for your wife. It was Cell's tail. What? She was gonna love it. The creator dude sent me home. When I got back, Bowman 18 were arguing over how to get her teleporter to work to bring me back. And Beerus and Whis were arguing over whether or not to kill Krampus. All of the Z fighters were at Capsule Corp. They had a tree set up and planned to let Pan and Marin celebrate as soon as I got back. When I arrived, I gave my family a huge hug. When it was time to exchange gifts, I was excited to give Android 18 Cell's tail. And she gave me the shoes that I had wanted. I got Marin a tablet and some clothes. Vegeta's kids, they got pretty much whatever they want because, you know, Bulma's rich. And Pan got what appeared to be a stuffed Piccolo doll. And somebody was telling me, wait, that it was a baby Yoda and a VR headset for training. I don't know, a VR headset. I don't know what that is. It was a perfect Christmas. Everyone seemed so happy. Everyone, that is, except for Goku. I went over to him and said, "What's wrong, buddy?" Before he could answer, I realized what it was. He could tell that I had been on an adventure that pushed me to my limits and made me even stronger, and he felt left out. Then suddenly there was a knock at the door. Guess who it was? Yeah, it was Saitama.
I was cool with hanging out with dinos for Christmas if I had to, but I really wanted to fight this Goku guy.
Goku's face lit up as he exclaimed, "Best Christmas ever." Indeed it was, my friend. Best Christmas ever. The two squared up and nearly destroyed the planet sparring. Goku, my dude, y'all gonna have to take that outside. I swear, he's like a big dumb kid or whatever. All right, well, Merry Christmas from Crawford Farms Entertainment.